U.S. Senator Marco Rubio. He is live this morning from the Capitol. How are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you. Good morning. Well, you can see me. I can't see you.
I know. You can hear me. Hopefully you can hear me okay. All right, let's talk about ObamaCare first, Senator Rubio. What are your thoughts on what has been going on?
Well, there's a proposal out of the House, and it has a lot of elements to it that are similar to things that I've talked about in the past. And there's some things that I would probably want to change, and that are things that are concerning, particularly for Florida, how it treats our Medicaid population. Is the tax credit sufficient to allow there to be a private, vibrant individual market for people that don't get insurance from the government and don't get insurance from their jobs? So those are the things we're looking at. But this is the way this process is supposed to work. You know, you come out with an idea, and then everybody else, based on input from people, make changes to that. And then at some point it works its way there. My view is we need to do it right. I'd rather do it right than do it fast. And I don't want to make the same mistakes that were made when ObamaCare was passed, that they didn't take the time to do it right, and we spent years dealing with its consequences.
I thought it was interesting they were talking about the ObamaCare bill, which was obviously a lot thicker. I think it was like over 700 pages, and the one that was submitted, I think what they said was about 66 pages. They actually read the whole. Have you had a chance to read through it? And I know you were just talking about some of the different things you would like to see. There's been some infighting as far as hard right versus middle right, and everybody's kind of going back and forth. Do you see this getting through?
I think there's going to be a repeal of Obamacare and that it's going to be replaced, but I think it's going to take some time to do that the right way. It's now been in place for 6 years, and so when you're dealing with something that's been around for 6 years, you've got to deal with the reality of that. That doesn't mean you keep it. It just means that you make changes in a way that take into account reality. So, for example, Florida did not expand its Medicaid program, and that was the fiscally responsible thing to do. It was a decision made by their governor. It was a decision made by our legislature. But is Florida now going to be punished for that? And the states that did expand are going to get a lot more money than we are. We have to make sure that things like that don't happen. So there's a lot of details about it that have to be worked out. And again, I think that if we do it, if we take our time to get the input and craft it in the appropriate way, we can avoid a lot of the mistakes that they made back in 2009 when they jammed this thing through for political purposes.
All right, let's talk about immigration. How are you feeling about the wall, and what are you hearing from folks here in Florida about it?
Well, I think people in Florida want the immigration laws to be enforced. Every country in the world has immigration laws, and they enforce them, and we need to do that as well. We also need to modernize our system of immigration because it's antiquated, it's overly legalistic, it doesn't work, and it has to be fixed. And eventually, after we do those two things, we're going to have to deal with the reality that we have millions of people in this country who are not delinquents, who are not criminals. Some of them came as children, and you're not going to round up and deport them. And so we're going to have to figure out a way to accommodate them in a reasonable way that doesn't encourage people to come here illegally in the future. So I've laid out these ideas to the President and to the White House. They seem receptive. But again, we need to take it in steps and get it done right. But I think we're going to make progress on immigration. I really do.
What are your thoughts on what's going on with these Jewish community centers? Obviously, we've had a lot of issues. And then, of course, we've seen a lot of the vandalism around the country as far as the cemeteries are concerned. I know you're very concerned about it.
It's horrifying, and I'm proud that a couple days ago I led a bipartisan effort. I got all 100 of my Senate colleagues to sign a letter to the Department of Homeland Security, to the FBI, to the Attorney General, asking them to pull additional resources into investigating who is behind these attacks and these threats. Just a couple days, I mean, every day now we have a bomb threat to a Jewish day school. These are little kids that have to be pulled out of the classroom in the middle of it's disrupting their learning environment. It's unfair, it's evil, and I want us to investigate and find the people who are doing this and put them in jail. And that's all. And it's not easy to get all 100 senators these days to be behind anything. But all 100 senators signed that letter to those three agencies. So I hope to see some action.
Well, it was very nice to see that. Agreed. Okay, let's talk about what's been going on with your office space. A bit of trouble in Tampa and Jacksonville. I know that's got to be frustrating for you. What are your thoughts there?
Well, I'm not frustrated for me. These aren't campaign offices, okay? These are offices that have 1 or 2 employees that basically they go out and reach out to multiple counties and they help people. Those are the offices, for example, if someone has an immigration problem, a Social Security problem, a Medicare problem, a VA problem, and they need to come in, they go to these offices and we intake their information and try to help them solve their problem. So when we lose an office space, that means there's nowhere for people to go. Now, we have never, a lot of people put their offices in government buildings, you know, in the courthouses, and we never did that. We wanted to be in commercial buildings because it's easier for people to get in and out of those. Unfortunately, you know, these commercial tenants, like in Tampa, they've got these anti-Trump protesters out there every day, and the tenants, the other people in the building get annoyed by it. They take up parking spaces, whatever, and so they decide not to renew our lease when they expire. I understand it. We'll find a new office. They're not hurting me. They're hurting the people that are trying to come see us. But we'll continue to serve people. We'll have new offices up fairly soon, and we're going to continue to do our job.
All right. Florida Senator Marco Rubio, always nice to talk to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
All right.